Hi, fourth graders. This is math for Friday, April 10th. We are starting a brand new topic, and it is decimals and fractions. Now, you have had fractions. We've talked about them, and we've worked with them a little bit. I've also thrown in decimals every once in a while. So it's new area, but it's some stuff that you should already have a basis on. So I don't want you to panic, and I don't want you to say, I can't do this. Okay, remember, we don't say those statements. We say, what can I learn so I can do it, right? Growth mindset, got to keep that going. All right, tough times, but we can persevere. So what I need you to remember that we've talked about to go is, first of all, I wanted to remind you that when you see a fraction, okay, it is the top numerator is the part, your division bar says, of the whole. So if I have 8 parts of 10 of the whole, then I have 8/10, or as a decimal, it's decimal 8. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to show the relationship between fractions and decimals and how we get them together, okay? But I needed to make sure that you kind of remembered that before we get into the meat of the lesson. All right, so I'm going to place this right here for now. I'm going to probably need it. You are going to start on page 628. No, yep, 628, sorry. You know my eyes in little print. And that is where it gives you a little bit of help in understanding the lesson. Also on 629 at the top where it always says give another example, that's a good place to go to look at. But I'm going to try and give you some information that will also help that to help you understand. So what I've done is I have some illustrations and things here. So when you're going to be start looking at your assignment and your problems, you're going to be seeing 100 boxes. All right. Now, 100 boxes just means it's a 10 times 10, which means there's 100 boxes in there. Okay. So that's 100. So if I had a whole one of these boxes shaded in like red, I know it's not pretty, but consider this a whole one shaded in, I would have a whole, or 100 hundredths. Down here, if I just had one shaded, I'd only have 1/100th. Maybe I had 7 shaded, then it would be 7 out of 100, okay? You're also going to see, and I want you to realize that one whole strip is 1/10, okay? So this is, right here I have 10/10 drawn, but I only have 1/10 shaded red, okay? So you need to realize that when you're seeing these, what each one of these pictures are. If you have a whole one of these shaded in, all 10 of them, that represents a whole, okay? If you only have parts, then that's going to be a fraction, okay? Because you only have part of those 10 or part of those 100 shaded, all right? So I want you to think for a second when we're dealing with these fractions and decimals, I want you to think a minute and relate this to money. You all love money. Everybody uses money. And you guys always ask me, how does this relate to the real world? Well, money is a real world, guys. And so we can think about this as money. You getting to understand the values of numbers and understanding money, because that's what decimals is, okay? Great way to put it in relation is just think about money. So if I asked you, how many cents, how many pennies per se are in 3 dimes? Okay, what would you tell me if I said how many cents is in 3 dimes? That's my question right here. Now, I know I ran out of board, you know me. Okay, so think about that. You would tell me that there are 30 pennies in 3 dimes. So you would write that money-wise like a dollar sign. Remember, we don't use the cent signs anymore. A decimal, okay? And it would be 30 cents. Sometimes you might see a decimal here or a zero there in front, and that's fine because that means there's no dollars. Okay, but that's 30 cents, decimal 30. Okay, that's what 3 dimes is worth. That's like 3 tenths of a dollar. What if I asked you how many cents was in 6 pennies? So think about that. What would the cents or the money look like if you were doing 6 pennies? Okay, so you'd have your dollar sign. You'd have a 0 for no dollars. You don't have any dimes, so you'd have to put a 0 there, and a 6. So that is what 6 cents looks like to you guys. You know that is 6 cents. That is 6, because how many pennies are in a dollar? 100, that's right, there's 100. So that's like 6 out of 100, or 6 over 100. Okay? This is like 30 over 100. Okay? So you have, that's what those would look like as fractions. And this is what you have as decimals. Okay? The exact same value. Okay? Exact same value. They just look different. Remember back when we talked about Izzy, when she was dressed differently all those days, or I don't think Kaysen, well, Kaysen might have a haircut by now. I don't know if his mom got a hold of his head, but we had Kaysen with hair and Kaysen without hair, okay? This is the same thing, just looks different. Same value, still the same Izzy, still the same Kaysen, they just look different, all right? So this kind of goes with the notes that I sent you on your calendar. I gave you some notes up here, remember, to help you out, and I'm just telling you about fractions and decimals and their worth. So read that. Hopefully that'll help you a little bit too, and the video here that we're doing. So I want you to kind of remember that, okay? So when you're looking at your assignments, you're going to be given different illustrations, and you're going to have to say what it is as a decimal and what it is as a fraction, okay? So I need you to get on board with what the values are. So if you would see decimal anything, nothing in between the valued number and the decimal, that's going to be a tenth, okay? So it might be decimal 6. And in that case, that's 6 out of 10. Okay? It might be, in this case, it might be decimal 65. Okay? Decimal 65. You're just going to say that as the number you see, 65. In that case, you can't tell me 6 tens and, well, you could tell me 6 tenths and 5 hundredths, but you really don't. You just need to know that that's 2 places behind a decimal. That means it's in the hundreds place. So that is going to be 65 over 100. Okay, and I want to, maybe this will help you to think about when it's tenths or hundredths. If it's just one number behind the decimal, all you see is any kind of one number. It could be a 1, it could be a 9, anything from, like I said, 1 to 9, it's always going to be a tenth. All right, it's because 10 has 1 0. As soon as it turns into any kind of 2 numbers, okay, like 01 to 09, or then decimal 10 or decimal 65 or whatever, okay, that's always going to go over 100 because 100 has 2 zeros. So you're going to have to be clear with that and make sure you understand what the numbers are. And I wanted to clarify that. So when you have to do page 629, you're going to look at them, and I'm even going to go ahead and give you one for you. So if you watch the video and then you do your work, you get a free answer, okay? It's kind of like a bonus. So if you were on 629 and you were looking at number 4, you have one whole thing covered, one whole 100s blocks. So that means, you know, right there that you have a whole number. So that means you would have to, let's change colors here. You would have to look at number 4 and you see that you have one whole block. So you're going to put a 1 and then you're going to say and. 1 and then you have another partially filled 100s block. And I think I count 5 rows of the 10 and then it goes 4 into the last one. So that would be 54 of those. So you have 1 and 54 hundredths. And as a mixed number, you would write 1 and 54 over 100. Okay? So you're going to give it to me decimal form, and then you're going to give it to me in something with some sort of a fraction, whether it's mixed number or whether it is just a fraction. Okay? So be clear about that, and I wanted to definitely show you number 4 because it includes a whole number. In all my examples so far, I haven't given you whole numbers. Sounds like my dog wants to get into the entertainment business there, but anyway, don't mind her. That's Pepper. Anyway, so that kind of discusses what you're going to be doing on 629 and some of 630. And then you have the other practice on the other page. And again, it is going to be the same sort of thing. You're going to be seeing a picture and you just have to tell me whether it is in, and read the directions, whether you're giving decimal and fraction or whether you're just giving me decimal or just fraction. So please, please read the directions. Okay? And the last thing that I want to show you dealing with this is, because some of you are going to have this question, what we call equivalent decimals or equivalent a fraction. Okay? So you can make equal decimals or equal fractions, okay, very easily. All you do is if you see 8/10 right here, and you want to make another decimal that is the same value, okay, it equals the same thing because that equal sign is there, but it just looks different, okay? All you do is keep the same value, like 0.8, and then you can just add a 0 on the end. You could technically add as many zeros as you wanted. 1 and done is perfect, okay? All we need is 1. So 8/10 could also be 80/100, okay? So I wanted to take it and go here and do 8/10 as a fraction and show you why it is equivalent to 80/100, okay? Because I put 80 over 100, and then remember I said about those zeros? Well, you add them, but also look at this. If I take away and divide both of those by the magic 1 of 10, that means I'm knocking off zeros. I still get 8/10. Okay? So equivalent fractions and equivalent decimals just mean they're the same value, okay, but they look different. So what I need you to realize is that you've got them there, okay, and make that numbers so that, again, anything just by adding zeros. Now, make sure that you know, okay, I don't want you to get confused because some of you are going to go, no, wait a minute, she said this, okay? You got to make sure that you understand, hold on. Those two numbers right here are not equal, okay? This is 7/10. There is nothing between the decimal and the 7. Here, this is, hold on, this is 7 over 10, and this is 7 over 100, okay? There is nothing in between, like the 0 is in between the 7 here, okay? So if I was to try to go and do that little thing I just showed you and like try to mark off a 0, there is no 0 on that 7 to take away. So these are quite two different numbers. This is like telling me that you have 7 dimes, 70 cents. Okay, equivalent fractions or equivalent decimals, remember? That would be like saying you have 70 cents. Okay, here you're just telling me that you have 7 pennies. Okay, I would much rather have 70 cents than 7 pennies. So these do not make equivalent fractions. So don't get in the habit of saying something, the decimal, then a 0 and a 7 is the same. Not. The zeros have to be added after the valued number. Okay? It's maybe seems a lot to take in, but it's not. Go slow. Take your time. Ask questions of me in classroom. And have your parents dojo me if you need to, or somehow they can find my number in a phone book. You could get a hold of me and call me. I'll do whatever I need to help you guys out to understand this. All right. So have a good Friday, and I want to wish you a very happy Easter, and I will see you soon. I promise. All right. Have a good one, guys. Bye.